Hersam Acorn newspapers, publishers of the Greenwich Post, New Canaan Advertiser, the Darien Times, the Ridgefield Press, the Weston Forum, the Wilton Bulletin, the Reading Pilot, the Lewisboro Ledger, the Monroe Courier, the Eastern Courier, the Trumbull Times, Fairfield Sun, Shelton Herald, the Stratford Star, the Milford Mirror, and the Valley Gazette.
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.
2:05 Tuesday afternoon, and we welcome you to Nutmeg Sports here on HANradio.com, streaming live on the Hersam Acorn Network. With Alex Hager, I'm Rob Adams, Eric Gendron, Josh Fisher helping to produce and direct. And we come to you live from the New Canaan Advertiser office for this Tuesday afternoon. And right off the bat, I'm very proud of myself because I opened the show with the right music. As opposed to yesterday where I opened Nutmeg Sports with our play-by-play sports games music, and then I opened our baseball broadcast with the Nutmeg Sports music. So I was a mess yesterday.
Nothing wrong with adding a little variety, so got it mixed up a little.
You know,
it's okay.
It's the spice of life. And here I was thinking you were on mic 2 and you're on mic 3. So, Alex, it's all yours. I'm just going to go. Anyway, happy to have you here on a Tuesday. Phones are working today, so you're certainly welcome to join us at 203-442-9055. We will be joined by Alyssa Nair, a member of the United States Women's National Soccer Team. She's from Stratford. We will talk to her in about 10 minutes, I believe. She is, in fact, involved, and she's a native of Bridgeport, to be exact, and went to Christian Heritage. But she is involved in an event called She Believes, and it's a kickoff for a major effort from the U.S. Women's National Team to give back to the young fans that support them on the field by sending a simple yet powerful message back. We'll find out what that's all about when Alyssa joins us in a little while. So with you on this Tuesday, and we saw baseball yesterday, Alex, and it was a good game. For 6 innings, it was a legitimately good game. 2-1, 3-1 type of game. Darien blew it open in the 7th inning, but for the most part, there was a good baseball game there. The score doesn't reflect it, though.
Right, it certainly doesn't. And I think when we talk about a good game, that really was a quality game. And the biggest thing was that it was an exciting game. And the quality of play, especially on the side of New Canaan, left a little bit to be desired. But, both pitchers were firing on all cylinders. We saw a lot of explosion off the bats, and we saw quite a few great plays in the field as well. So it definitely gave the fans their money's worth. No real admission there at Mead Park, but a packed crowd saw a pretty fun game.
And David Giusti deserved a better outcome. The starting pitcher for New Canaan, he walked a few, yes. He struggled a little bit here and there, but in 119 pitches, I thought he pitched pretty well.
Oh, he certainly did, and we saw he had 8-9 strikeouts on the day, and as a pitcher, that's really all you can ask for, and only 1 or 2 of those runs were actually earned to him. So Giusti had a great outing, and he needed to go up against Stephen Barston, who was in the office with us earlier today, but he was absolutely phenomenal yesterday, and we talked yesterday how he really isn't much of a strikeout pitcher, but as far as a Stephen Barston game goes, that was as good as you're going to get. He gave up 1 run through 7 complete innings.
And 4 strikeouts, I believe, which is it's almost un-Barston-like.
Almost. That was nearing a season total for him, but we're definitely proud of him.
Yeah, Giusti pitched well, deserved a better fate. Like I said, 7 errors committed by New Canaan in that game, and you can't win when you're giving another team that many opportunities.
No, you certainly can, and it just leaves a lot of space for Darien to get ahead whenever they can. And I talked early on, this didn't end up being the case, as it actually was kind of a pretty large margin of victory for the Wave. But early on, the Wave was getting out some scrappy runs. They were stealing whenever they could, even with that short backstop there at Mead. They were scoring on errors. They were sending runners all the time. Sometimes that didn't pay off. We saw a few runners get caught stealing, but in the end, that gave Darien the runs that they needed early on for that, I think, that motivational boost. And Darien's a kind of a very moody team, I like to say. And when they're in a groove, they get very hot. And that was the case early on yesterday.
For the Blue Wave, in fact, they pulled off what was, in a matter of speaking, a delayed double steal, a straight steal off first. But when the catcher, Kyle Smith, threw down the second, the runner off third came home.
That's true. And that was one of the sneaky ways that Darien got a run early. And like I say, even though they ended up winning that game by a pretty big margin, for Darien, they need to get runs early. They need the momentum early on. And as we saw, they're a team that likes to make a lot of noise, and they're a team that's very emotional, and they work best when that emotion is a good one.
Yeah, they really, it's a fun team to be around. And I noted this yesterday a couple of times that the Blue Wave lost last Friday to Staples. We had it here on HANradio.com, and yet, as I watched the team's body language after that game, it was very relaxed, very low-key, a lot of laughing, an understanding that, yes, this is one game, and it seems like they get it. So, quite often, if I see a team like that, my radar goes up and I say, well, this is a team that, doesn't care as much. And that's not the case with this team.
No.
If you know this Darien team, they care.
Oh, they care so much, and they have an absolutely stacked bench mob. They're a very deep team, not only on the field, but off the field as well.
Yeah.
They bring, I'll talk about this sometimes on my broadcast, but a lot of teams will only bring 4 or 5 extra players.
Right.
Darien looked like they practically had a full bench,
Yeah.
even when they were, fielding defensively. And so they'll have 9 or 10 kids in the dugout at all times at the very minimum. And everyone on that team, TJ Adeletta, Jake Frasca, Jack O'Neill, there are a lot of senior leaders who are not only leaders on the field, but even on the bench as well, who keep the morale up and just keep things exciting. And that's not only fun for the players, but it's fun for the fans, it's fun for the parents. And in a game where, maybe like the game in Staples where the outcome isn't so favorable, you really need that to come back and turn around and get a win like they did against New Canaan just the very next game.
And it's a top-down type of thing. The coaches are all great guys, very approachable, easy to deal with, and you can sense that kind of feeds down to the team.
Oh, it certainly does. I think it goes all the way to the top in Mike Scott. He's a great guy, and he conducts his team very well, and I think the fact that they're all very much on the same wavelength is really contributive to their success.
As for the Rams, it's a game you're going to want to throw out and just forget about if you're the Rams. You don't want this game against your arch rival in the Blue Wave, but I think this is just one of those where you burn the film and you just start over.
Like you said, it's dangerous to let this game linger, and it's very possible that it will, especially in a rivalry game like this. There's a very, very there's a bitter hatred in a lot of the sports, and I don't know if we could go as far as saying that it's a bitter hatred in baseball.
Right.
But this game, without a doubt, meant a little bit more for everyone on the field.
Yeah. We actually have a piece of audio and video from yesterday, just a real highlight moment of the game. It was hard to pick, an individual at bat in this game because, as you said, it was a lot of small ball type thing. But there was one play that kind of made this game stand out, and this it comes in the third inning, as you'll hear in my play-by-play call. It's quite a play defensively. It's actually an offensive play for the Rams, but it's what the Wave do defensively that makes this so good. So a little play-by-play, and we'll play it right now. 2 out, 2-1, third inning. And a line drive to right center field. This is going to find the gap, heading toward the 346 marker. On his horse to third, Lavasser. He'll round it. Here comes the throw from second. It's on the way. The tag. He is out.
What a play.
Wow.
What an outstanding play by Mike O'Malley to grab it, unleash a cannon to the plate, and DeMeglio tagged him as he was coming in. Great play. We stay at 2-1. And it was a heck of a play defensively.
Oh, absolutely. And a play like that is really a momentum turner in that game. When you only have a 1-run lead, that was, I think, the boost that Darien needed to not only keep the Rams from scoring in that inning, but then in the next inning and the ones after that, they were just riding high.
Yeah, I think I agree with that because Stephen Barston wasn't at his best early on, but it was almost like after that play because early on it felt like, we were going to kind of ride a wave, for lack of a better term, of 1-0, 1-1, 2-1. That was on the way to being 2-2. It felt like it was going to be that kind of game, and then all of a sudden that kind of shut the door. Barston got better as the game went on, and from there the Wave just ran and hid.
And I
Left
think that's a play
line,
that Darien
but 1-0.
is used to using for
lifted to center
the
and
momentum
deep.
changes
This is
that
a
they
long
need.
run
We talk about
in the
sometimes
air.
how that outfield
Sliding
is so
try by
experienced
Macarone.
and
It
so
bounces.
cohesive.
O'Malley plays
Peter
it. The
Archie
throw
in
to
left,
second
Mike
is not
Macarone
in
in center,
time.
Mike O'Malley in
Sliding
right.
in
They're
safely
all multi-sport
is
athletes.
Lavasser
They
with
all
a
have
double.
been starting for over a year. They all are really on the same
now
wavelength out there. We see it in the
fielder, a
communication
right-handed
on close
batter.
calls in the outfield, and we see it on plays
Barston
like that. So we
takes a look at the runner
made
off
a little bit of a
first.
mistake in calling it
Brings it
yesterday.
home,
The second
the runner
baseman
goes.
did cut off
It's
the throw
low,
on its way to
throwing
home.
from his knees.
So
DeMeglio makes
that,
a
again,
strong
I think, was
throw,
a
but
great
in
job,
safely
on
is Zach Smith
communication
with a
by the
stolen
Blue Jays to
base.
get that ball into
No
Danny
score.
Seamers and then get it home.
Lifted
And
the
a great
center.
job as well by Tony DeMeglio
Macarone
to put
in
that
his
tag
tracks.
on
He'll play it.
Lavasser
Tagging
and
in
sliding
third
home.
is
Yeah,
Lavasser.
absolutely
Here
great
comes the
teamwork
throw.
there.
It's
Couple
cut
of
off.
quickies
It's
off
a
of the game
sacrifice
from
fly,
yesterday.
and it's 1-0 New Canaan.
This
A programming
looks like a
note
very
also to throw
expansive
out.
outfield.
First of all,
2-1
thanks
is
to
lined to
School
short
of
and
Rock
sliding.
New
Now
Canaan.
dropping
I wanna
it
make
is
sure
a
we mention
bait
them
on the
because
first.
we had
The
a
throw
little bit of a
not in
different
time.
angle in our
It also
camera
hits the
shots
runner as
yesterday,
he
and that
comes
was all
down the
result of
line.
School of
That
Rock
was a
allowing us to
weird
use
play.
a platform
Scorekeeping on that
riser, if
one
you will.
kind of
we were able to
funky
put two of
because
our
I guess he
called
cameramen
it an
up on
error.
that,
It
so
was
they were
right.
nice
I
enough
think
to
you
let
had
us
a lot
borrow
of
it for
speed
the
on it.
day.
Yeah.
So
was in his
our
glove.
thanks
Well,
to
that's the
them.
thing. It had
Also,
English
a
on it, and
programming
the bait
note. We
went to
originally
his
had
left.
another
The ball
game
kinda
scheduled
shifted
for this
back to his
Friday,
right.
and
But
as I mentioned
still,
in
it's
kind of
catch you should
a
make. I
joking
agree with
way
you. It's an
yesterday,
E6.
we
And
kind of
Blake
had
Jones
our
and a 2-1 pitch on the
inter-NBC
way
flex
to
schedule
O'Malley.
came into play,
The set
and
and
we
the pitch
decided
coming
to carry the
Bounce to
Darien
short.
Norwalk
A bait.
baseball
Stumbles,
game
brings
on
it
Friday
across,
at
not
4
in
at
time,
City Hall
everybody's
Field.
safe.
So we've made that change on our schedule at
Lifted on the
HANradio.com,
infield.
and that
Juicy
schedule
will
also
call for it and
appears,
drop it, but
on
it's an
all of our
infield
newspaper
fly roll.
websites. So
Batter is
that is
out
the game
in
we will
case you
bring to
needed
you
me
on
to
Friday.
back up
and
what the
look,
umpire
it's
was
basically
emphatically
for first
saying.
place in the conference. It's going to be a good one.
Left-handed batter.
This race is getting
swings at
so
the first
tight
pitch,
right
rolls
now,
it up the
and
middle and
especially heading
through
into
to center
playoffs,
field.
I
A
think
base
there's
hit.
really nothing
Rounding
certain.
third.
We
DeMeglio,
saw
the throw on the way.
Bears
It is not in
actually
time.
about
He
a month
scores
ago now
without
up
a
in
slide,
Cooperstown,
and
New
we're
York, where
tied
they really
at
didn't
1.
look very good that day. They lost to
Room in
their
left center
crosstown
field. He
rival Brian
swings and
McMahon,
drives it to
7-3.
left center
So
field.
I'm
It's a long
interested
run
to see
for
what
Reynolds,
kind of
still
Bear team
running,
we see this
and it's
Friday.
over his
I don't
head.
think there's
Bounces
any team
near
that
the
you can
wall.
really think
On his
one
way
thing
to
or another
second
about.
with a
Stephen
double.
Barson
Connor
mentioned
Davey,
just this
one
morning
on
that
and
Staples only beat Central
one
by a
out.
score of
But we
5-1
go
today.
by the
It was
numbers.
a team that Darien beat.
George Reed swings
with
at the first
28
pitch,
runs.
saws
And
it
so
off to
there's,
right,
you know,
and
there's
a
definitely a lot of
sliding
factors at
try.
play,
Can't
but I
grab
think
it.
we have
Rounding
seen
third
much
and
stranger things
scoring
happen
is
than
Davey.
IC
Holding
losing
it
in the
first with an
round. We saw
RBI single
Darien got
is
knocked out by
George
Ward
Reed.
early on
2
last
out,
year, and
2-1,
we saw
third
Ward
inning.
go on to win the championship.
And a line drive to
I
right
think that,
center
we
field.
would be-
This is going to
Matt, we'd be
find the
foolish
gap,
if we didn't
heading
forecast
toward
a
the
few kind of incredible
346
surprises
marker.
yet
On
again
his
this year.
horse to third,
Yeah, I agree
Lavasser.
with you.
He'll round
I
it.
think
Here
there's
comes the
a
throw
lot of
from
baseball to be
second. It's
played. I
on the
think
way.
it's
The
going to be a
tag.
wild
He is
tournament,
out.
too. And that's great. I mean, that's
What
what
a
we want.
play!
We want it to be as
Wow.
much fun because
What
we're
an
going to cover as much of the
outstanding
baseball as we can get our
play
hands on.
I think we'll be very
by
lucky,
Mike
and there will be a
O'Malley
lot
to
of
grab it,
action to
unleash
see
a
this,
cannon
the
to
end
the
of spring.
plate,
Now,
and
as
DeMeglio
things
tagged him
from
as he was
yesterday,
coming in.
And in talking
Great.
with Dave Stewart, he was saying to me, it's such a fluid situation. Darien remains the top seed at 15-1. Norwalk now at 14-2. New Canaan in third at 13-3. Staples sits at 12-4. They're the top four. They all have tickets into the playoffs right now, but the seedings, as we just said, can change. Then the log jam begins. Wilton is 11-5. Trinity and Ward are also 11-5, but Trinity and Ward tied for sixth because Wilton has the advantage. They've beaten both Trinity Catholic and Fairfield Ward. Trinity and Ward look like the best team of all at one point. Now they're 11-5 on the year. After that, you get to Greenwich, Trumbull, both 9-7. Then Stanford, St. Joe's at 8-8, Ridgefield at 7-9. So you can see. You can almost feel comfortable at 11-5, but not entirely.
And I think one thing that contributes to that is so many teams function so differently. We'll see a lot of teams. I think Darien is probably an example of one of those, and in New Canaan team that does not have Alex LaPolice probably falls into this category as well. But they're teams that need to have all of their players functioning at once to succeed. Whereas you'll have other teams like a Trinity, and I know there's other teams in the conference that will have one star player that can take them to success. And if either the entire team is not playing well, that team will do poorly. And if there is a team that relies on one player, they can have shortcomings from a single player that will lead to a loss or a whole number of losses.
We're at the advantage in that we've seen Darien, we've seen Norwalk, we've seen New Canaan, Staples. We saw Wilton very early in the year. I'd like to see them again. We have seen Ward, we have seen Greenwich. We have not seen the Trinity Catholic Crusaders.
I have seen Trinity.
And I want to see Randy Polonia. I haven't seen him yet.
Now, I don't know if this was a bit of an anomaly, but when I saw Trinity, Randy Polonia was not on the mound. He was starting at shortstop, and he allowed 2 runs to score early on 2 consecutive errors at shortstop. And so my review of the UConn-bound Randy Polonia is a somewhat negative one. And I just am not entirely confident after what I've seen that he is the crucial key piece they need to make a deep run into the FCAC playoffs.
Top 8 make the FCAC playoffs. It'll be, again, I think it's going to be a heck of a tournament, and it's a one-and-done tournament if you don't know, which means your pitcher better be on his game.
And you can't afford to be starting a pitcher who's feeling a little off that day, and you can't afford to leave a pitcher in for too long. I think one of the biggest things is going to be to see how deep every team's pitching roster is.
Now, as of right now, the quarterfinals are next Tuesday. We suspect we will cover one of those quarterfinal games. The sense I was getting at one point in talking to Dave Stewart, and I'm not going to tell you, tales out of school. I'm just going to tell you straight out what Dave and I were talking about. If it's Staples-Wilton as the 4-5 game, I can see us doing that game, to be quite honest with you. Now, we've got work to do between now and then before we decide for sure. But broadcast-wise, that works for us. Both schools are very good, and so it would be a good fit for us as well, and a good game. Staples and Wilton, I think, would be a lot of fun to see. That's next Tuesday with the quarterfinals. Wednesday, they play the semis at the ballpark at Harbor Yard. We will be there for that. Then, as of right now, the championship is a week from Friday, 7:30. But in talking off the air and including with you, Alex, there are still some mitigating factors in that FCAC championship game, you being one of them.
There definitely are, and that the slated FCAC championship might interfere with Darien's scheduled prom,
right?
Which is something that the players are very aware of and definitely a little bit worried of. And it would not be the exact same night, but the prom would be kind of in the evening.
Right.
Or sorry, the game would be in the afternoon, evening, and the prom would be at night. And so, but basically there would be too much overlap for it to be convenient for anyone. And
yeah.
So I think the players are worried about this, and I think that the FCAC has taken this into consideration. Obviously, there have not been any changes made yet, but it's something that we definitely could see later on. We know that lacrosse was a potential conflict, softball was a potential conflict early on, and those have sorted themselves out. But
yes.
baseball's still lingering there, and it's something that people are talking about.
And the championship game was originally scheduled for Saturday at noon. Could it get moved back to Saturday at noon? It could. Is that desirable for a baseball player? As we were talking again before we were having lunch off the air before we came back in here, and the question was simply put, do you really want to play in a championship game, play a game the day after your prom? I don't know if that's the most desirable thing either.
These are all very uniquely high school sports problems.
Yes, they are. Very unique. 2:21 here on Nutmeg Sports. We're going to pause for a break. When we come back, we will talk with a member of the women's soccer team right here in the United States. So excited to talk with Alyssa Nair right after this as we continue on with Nutmeg Sports for a Tuesday afternoon on HANradio.com and streaming live on the Hersam Acorn Network.
Breaks, sprains, injuries, and pain can now be quickly and expertly treated at Coastal Ortho Express in Norwalk. Why wait hours in the ER? Save a trip and save money going straight to an orthopedic specialist at Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, 203-845-2070. No appointment necessary. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or call 203-845-2070. Fast!
Healthy, confident smiles begin at Stratford Orthodontics. Conveniently located on Main Street, we are Stratford's hometown orthodontist. We offer the latest in orthodontic technology, including Damon braces and Invisalign. We always accept new patients. Call today to schedule a complimentary consultation. 203-375-8332. Stratford Orthodontics, 2499 Main Street, Stratford. 203-375-8332 and online at stratfordsmile.com.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
Yeah, hey, this is John Ratzberger. You're listening to
HANradio.com.
2:23 on Nutmeg Sports for a Tuesday afternoon with Alex Hager. I'm Rob Adams. Happy you joined us both online at HANradio.com and, of course, on our live stream via the Hersam Acorn Network, the HAN Network, if you will. And very happy to be joined by a member of the United States women's national soccer team, the goalkeeper, Alyssa Nair, who is a product of Stratford, attended Christian Heritage. And she's got something pretty good to tell us about, too. Now, she'll be a part of the Women's World Cup in Canada starting June 6th. But, you know, anytime you can get involved with community outreach, community events, and supporting young fans with simple messages, we'll let her tell us a little more about it. Alyssa, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks so much for your time. And tell us about She Believes.
She Believes is just a little campaign that the women's national team kind of put together. Basically, everyone's kind of going back into their communities a little bit and reaching out to young girls and some older girls as well, and just kind of going with She Believes in terms of you can kind of do anything that you want to, whatever your dream is. It's possible, and there's kind of no limits to what you want to do.
And it's so good to, support young girls who, could use some athletic role models, and I think this is a very positive thing. I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, definitely. We're excited about it.
Well, that's great to hear. As you get ready to head toward Canada, what are your thoughts as you start turning toward, heading north?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I'm just asking about the World Cup, your thoughts on it as you get ready to head north.
I'm just getting really excited about it. I just got back yesterday from 2.5-week training camp and the 2 send-off games out in California, and there's just a really good energy around the team. Confidence is good. The team's, I think, clicking, and I think everyone's just kind of getting really ready and anxious and excited heading up to Canada in just about 2 weeks.
And that last game that you guys had against Mexico, what did that mean for the team and for the outlook heading into the World Cup?
I think that was a big game for us, to be able to come out and put some goals on the board and put together a complete performance as a team, and just kind of get putting the last little finishing touches on what we need to work on as a team, to get really ready and as prepared as we can be going into the World Cup. So, there's no surprises. There's nothing that, we're not prepared for, that kind of using these few games as, the last little bit of preparation. So we're ready for anything.
Always the thought when it comes to women's sport is how to, get it even more so into the mainstream. And, of course, the World Cup does very well. But what can folks do to continue to promote women's athletics? Because I don't think it's getting what it deserves.
Yeah, I think it's definitely getting it's growing for sure. But, we still need the support of people. I think what, the way people can kind of get involved is, there's now, outside of the national team, which most of those games are televised now, and there's also the NWSL, which has kicked off a couple weeks ago, which is the women's professional league that's in the U.S. now. There's, 9 different teams around the country now, and, if you do not live in one of those cities, to get out to a game, all the games are streamed on YouTube, and just being able to watch and support and buy tickets and promote that league, and as well as just following and using social media and all those kind of things will continue to help promote women's athletics in this country.
And you mentioned the NWSL, and of course, as a member of the Boston Breakers, the 2014 Goalkeeper of the Year, that is nothing to be ignored by any stretch.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I'm just mentioning that you were Goalkeeper of the Year in 2014 in the NWSL.
Oh, yes. Yeah, was last year. Sure. Been in Boston now for, this is my 5th season with the Breakers, 3rd with the NWSL. And it's been, obviously from Connecticut, it's nice to be close to home and family is able to come up. And I think the league is just going to continue to grow and get better, and it's a great place for a lot of young girls to kind of look up to and see that there is something after college and all those things. So it's been a good experience so far.
And what do you think that the growth of the NWSL and the rising popularity of the women's national team means to young girls who are looking for athletic role models like yourself?
I think it just gives a platform. I think it's important for young girls to be able to see that they can, they have something to try to emulate, and they have people that they can look up to, which is not what's always been there. And I think, there was a group in, obviously, the Women's World Cup in 1999 that was in the U.S. I know for sure that gave me, that team to kind of look up to, and, I had so much respect for those girls, even I was 11, 12 years old at the time. And to be able to look up to that team, I know really made an impact on me. So it's kind of nice now to have the roles reversed a little bit and realize that we do have this platform, and it is okay for girls to want to, dream big and believe in themselves that they can do kind of whatever they put their minds to.
And at the same time, how do we get past the concept and the terminology of throwing or playing like a girl?
I take it as a compliment.
Good.
I think that there are, girls are just as competitive and just as aggressive, and it's fun to play. And I don't think that girls should take it as. I know a lot of girls who are better than a lot of boys at different sports. So I think that is kind of changing at this point. That's an insult, and I think girls should want to play like girls. And now hopefully they have, outside of being able to watch the men play, now they have, not only with the national team but with the women's professional league, they have on a consistent basis games to be able to watch and learn from, and try to now emulate the female players as well as the men's players.
Alex, anything from you, or you're good?
I think it's been great to talk to a member of the women's national team, and we wish you best of luck heading into the World Cup, and I think that the entire nation will be rooting for you guys.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time, and yes, best of luck in Canada, and we hope to talk to you again.
Thank you.
All right. That is Alyssa Nair, the one of the goalkeepers for the United States team. She is from Stratford. She went to Christian Heritage, and a local gal doing good.
Absolutely, and it's always good to see local athletes. You can add one more to the list of successful local athletes in the pros now.
And I love the fact that her answer on throws like a girl, because that had become a little bit of a sensation not too long ago. There was a commercial that looked to kind of desensitize or destigmatize that terminology and really eradicate it. She embraced it. I like that.
It certainly is, and I think that with a team as successful as the women's national team, that's getting easier and easier day by day. I know that Fox Sports, who's been doing a lot of the coverage of the women's national team games in the lead up to the World Cup, and I believe they have the rights to the whole women's World Cup.
Yeah, I believe they do.
They've been running huge campaigns about the past successes of the team and almost making them look like the more successful national soccer team here.
You get the sense, and I don't know, I get the sense that it isn't true with her, but you wonder sometimes if they get tired of hearing about 99 and Brandi Chastain. I mean, is that too much to deal with? Can they just be themselves?
I think that is the moment, and that's the year that left a lasting impression in the minds of a lot of people. But I think, I don't have a very lasting impression of that because I was 2 years old.
I'm sure you don't. Now, I watched it.
I have
no
zero recollection of that. And I think that there's an entire generation now of people my age and people who are younger who can look at this new team. And, I mean, it's always talked about, but, soccer is growing and growing in national importance every year that goes by. And we got a huge push behind the men's national team in the World Cup last summer.
Right.
And I think that there's definitely a fair amount of that's going to carry over to the women's team this summer.
Now, it was just 4 years ago. In fact, I was in Boston when they played the championship the championship match, and they did lose on penalty kicks, and that's still something that just drives me bonkers. You can't resolve a world championship or any championship on penalty kicks or shootouts. I mean, are we going to go to field goals in the Super Bowl? No, we're not going to. I'd hate to see that, and I hate seeing it with soccer.
I mean, you do, but I think that has been so cemented as part of such a long, storied game. I know that I am in no ground to really take issue with that, as I am not really a huge soccer expert. But I think that there's always people who are going to have opinions like that. I know that it's always talked about in the NHL and in the playoffs that's really much less of a factor. But I mean, there is so much tension when you head into penalty shootouts. We saw it so many times in the World Cup. But, I mean, I think that's going to be a hot topic for many years to come.
Now, I'm a guy that also would get rid of the shootout in the NHL, to be perfectly honest with you. I would almost go back to ties before I would continue the shootout. But that's just me. I'd rather see continued 4-on-4 or 3-on-3. Now, again, that's hockey we're talking about.
I was going to say, you can't really do that in soccer.
You can't do it in soccer.
That being said, though, it's very hard to find an alternative, because in hockey, oftentimes you'll see, especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you go to 3-4 overtimes, players are just falling down left and right. I mean, you'd imagine that they'd be incredibly tired. And you watched a lot of World Cup games. I know one that stuck out to me last year in the Men's World Cup was Switzerland versus Argentina in the quarterfinals.
Sure.
They went to the 109th minute, and those players were all just, I mean, absolutely exhausted out there. And especially on a soccer field, there's really no solution. I mean, save bringing both goals to a half field length, there's not a whole lot you can do to have a resolving option that would be easy for the players.
I still think women's athletics does have a little ways to go. Certainly the WNBA is, I'm sorry, it's I hate to say it's a farce, but it's a farce. I mean, it's not that it's bad basketball.
It's not at all.
No, it's perfectly good basketball. They're great athletes that are in there, but I would offer that the WNBA was in a far better shape back in the late 90s when it first started than now. And there's a part of the reason of that was the late 90s featured the beginning of the UConn run. Tennessee was getting even better, so you had that rivalry there, but you also had the women's soccer team doing their thing, winning that 99 World Cup out in I believe, L.A., so women's athletics was a hot topic at that time. The WNBA, there was something to talk about there. Since then, we've just watched it nosedive, and the popularity of the WNBA, it's almost like the NBA refuses to admit that they're playing to empty houses or partially empty houses. To me, there's still an issue there.
There's a huge issue, and I don't think there's not a lot of hope for it either, and we'll see this every year where the best WNBA players are getting pawned off to European or Asian contracts. We know that the Chinese Women's Basketball League is growing with increasing popularity, the Russian Women's Basketball League, and all over Europe, there's players who are leaving because there's a lot more money elsewhere. And I think that the NBA has the money to prop up the WNBA, and it's just not happening right now.
But all that being said, they still have a national TV contract, and yet the games can't draw flies.
They can't.
I mean,
now, you were talking about how in the 90s there was a little bit of surge as women's soccer and women's basketball both kind of rose on parallels. Now that you see women's soccer rising again, do you think that's going to carry over to the WNBA at least a little bit?
I don't see it. I really don't. I really don't see it, and I don't really see it in women's college basketball either. I don't see where it's almost like the UConn dominance has been a bad thing for college basketball. Tennessee has dropped out. Of course, the great Pat Summitt is now dealing with the effects of dementia, so she's not coaching anymore. So you don't have that great rivalry that we once had in women's college hoops. Not that there aren't good rivalries. UConn against anybody. UConn, Notre Dame, but Notre Dame can't beat UConn, for instance. So, you've got all that to consider, Alex. No, I think we need something in women's sports because women's golf has really kind of taken a step back. There was a time when you had an Annika Sorenstam or, some of those players, late 90s, Michelle Wee, late 90s, early 2000s, it was a big deal. And now it's kind of like, well, okay, we've got the Women's World Cup. softball at a national level every now and then, a little spike, but Jenny Finch has really kind of dropped out of sight as well. So it takes personalities and it takes great
does take
games.
personalities.
But it does take personalities.
But like you were saying, in the college game, it's, for lack of a better term, lopsided.
Right.
If I recall correctly, this year's women's tournament ended with a Final Four of 4 number 1 seeds. And that's something that is not going to help the growth of the game, I guess. And the spread of the talent is definitely leaving something to be desired. But that being said, I think there definitely is a little bit of hope in the women's soccer team, and it's so contingent, to me at least, on personalities and on, like you said, a Jenny Finch or a Michelle Wee or something. And on the soccer team, we saw that. I know Hope Solo, Alex Morgan were both huge kind of heroes for the women's soccer team in the last World Cup, and I think that they have the opportunity to do that again. And I think that there are going to be other heroes and other big role models on the women's soccer team, but I think that other sports, I would say they need to develop them, but I don't know if you can do that. I mean, it kind of has to be organic. I don't know where that's going to come from.
Does tennis have enough of that?
I think women's tennis has probably been the hardiest of women's sports in terms of maintaining not only quality of play but also international popularity.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I mean, you've got the majors that you can look at, so certainly yes, I would take that into account. But I do think that unfortunately, women's athletics has come a long way. Title IX is quite old at this point. So yes, it has come a long way. I've enjoyed covering women's athletics whenever we're able to do so. We had a great time at that softball game that we did just a few weeks ago, but that's a very isolated example.
Right.
But I know the athletes enjoy the attention, and as a broadcaster, I love seeing them get excited to have that kind of media attention.
And you very much like to see the sports getting the attention that they deserve.
Right.
Because I think they often do. And at the high school level, I think that's one of the kind of most prominent places for success in women's sports. I know that our soccer team did pretty well this year at Darien High School. Our lacrosse team always gets attention. And at the high school level, I think everyone's getting, I wouldn't call it fair attention, but more or less, even support. And I think that withers out a little bit as the level gets higher and higher.
I get it. There's a culture to sports, obviously, and there's a culture to women's sports and at the high school level as well. But there's also a level of confidence and teammates and team building and, the atmosphere that I've talked to so many female athletes about. It generally is this kind of sisterhood, all good kind of thing.
Right.
But I understand there's also a mean girl factor to it as well. It's not perfect.
Now, on a very much related topic, there was the huge controversy with the girls' hockey finals this year. I'm sure you remember that. That was prominent.
Quite
that
well.
gained national attention. You guys were a part of that.
Yeah.
And that's not the first time we've seen kind of a rule discrepancy be part of something that does stir up the debate about the equality of men's and women's sports. I mean, how much of that do you think is a factor? We've seen a lot of girls' games end in a tie, and other things of that nature.
Well, there was certainly a large amount of outrage over what happened in that girls' championship game that we broadcast. I believe it was March 7th. And yes, we became actually part of the story, even on a national level, which was still bizarre to talk about. But all that aside, I still struggle with the notion that it was the people heading up things that day saying, no, we've got to get the boys' game on, because one of the key people involved was Rich Buellin, who is a girls' hockey coach. He has no interest in,
defaming girls hockey.
Absolutely. He has been one of their best advocates, and he was gracious enough to come on this show and explain that to us. So, I do think there was a ball dropped somewhere, a puck dropped somewhere in the process of that. The crowd was into it, as we all know. We were there that day, so there was a lot of good that came out of it, and it gave them great attention that I think they would have preferred to have it go a different way.
Right. But that being said, it did bring the issue to light. Any press is good press.
It did, and I don't see it happening again. I don't. I think they play that game. I mean, I still think the CIAC's got to get on board, but I know there's a numbers issue there with girls hockey. I think they will get on board eventually, and you need more teams to participate. I get that's all part of it, but it certainly was a story that we followed quite in depth for a while. 2:42 here on Nutmeg Sports. Alex and I need to take a break, but boy, I love the way that went from a conversation with Alyssa Nair into this really good discussion just now. That was
Absolutely.
good stuff.
It's media. Boom.
I thought you were going to say girl power there for a
girl
moment.
power.
I wasn't sure where. No, we'll take a break. We've got lacrosse later on. We've got Fairfield Ward against New Canaan. We're out for a break. We continue on. 2:42 on Nutmeg Sports on HANradio.com.
Spring is finally in the air and our favorite season is upon us. The Dock Shop is all geared up with a great selection of fishing tackle, custom fishing rods, and all the latest accessories to replenish your tackle box. The Dock Shop has also just brought out the newest spring fashion apparel from Montauk Tackle, Altered Latitudes, Kaylee Smith, and Margaritaville Apparel. Need some new foul weather gear for those chilly spring mornings? The Dock Shop is loaded up with Grundens and Stormer in a variety of styles and sizes. Ladies, we've got you covered as well with spring apparel and the newest designs of coastal jewelry, bags, and accessories. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, Connecticut. Visit us at dockshop.com.
Did you know that taking dance lessons is a great date night idea? Arthur Murray Grand Ballroom of Greenwich is a fabulous place to learn to dance and meet new people. Located at 6 Lewis Street, our studio is staffed with professional instructors ready to teach you salsa, waltz, rumba, hustle, tango. There's a dance for every season. And we are rated #1 on the knot.com. We are the wedding dance specialists. Take advantage of our new student offer, only $49. Call 203-769-1800. Visit us online at arthurmurraygreenwich.com.
Does advertising on hanradio.com work? Just ask Coastal Orthopedics. They ran spots with us, and within 24 hours they had 21 walk-ins and 8 calls to their new immediate care center. To advertise on hanradio.com, call 203-417-5199 and ask for Marianne Hersam.
You're listening to Hersam Acorn Radio.
2:44 Nutmeg Sports Tuesday afternoon with Alex Hager. I'm Rob Adams. Phone calls welcome, 203-442-9055. Still kind of staying on the topic of women's athletics and at the same time staying on the topic of what makes athletes popular and fan involvement. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. We were talking with Josh Fisher, who's directing us today, and in a matter of speaking, there's the accessibility factor, which he was mentioning to us. He goes to the U.S. Open every year, and how close he's able to get to some of the tennis players and how that has developed. And that's something that, and I'll be the first to knock it as a big Yankee fan, the Yankees have screwed that up badly over the years. There's not enough autograph signing. There's not a fan fest. Hasn't been in. I went to one of the fan fests, the first one. It was 1991. I mean, they haven't done it in probably 20 years. Not coincidentally, that was also when the Yankees weren't very good.
Right.
So by 96, they're winning championships. Who needs fan fest? Heck, who needs fans?
Honestly, you could almost say that part of that's deliberate. I mean, sports teams are always talking about building a brand, and the Yankees have very much built a brand of being elite on the field, off the field, and in the front office. And I think that that's something that makes them the New York Yankees. I mean, that brand has one of the most solidified names in not only professional sports, but kind of in the world.
Although that being said, I've noticed as the Yankees have continued to struggle with ticket sales by their own doing, because they're still as popular as almost ever, their brand is, as you said, it's all about branding. It's a global name. You go to Europe, you're going to see a ton of Yankee hats walking around. You just walk around this country, and there's been enough, information to indicate that the Yankee brand is as popular anywhere in the country. You go to another city and you'll see, for argument's sake, and I don't have this fact in front of me, but let's say for argument's sake you go to Denver. The number 1 team will be the Rockies. The number 2 team might be the Dodgers because of the regionality. The number 3 team is going to be the Yankees. It's amazing how this works. It goes on everywhere in the country. The Yankees are arguably, if not the most popular team in Florida, right there, and that's a state that has 2 teams in it. So you've got all of that that's super popular, but at the same time, as they've struggled because of their own high prices of tickets, I noticed they're getting a little more in the community again, the Hope Week thing, getting out and doing community events, getting involved with Harlem RBI. And one thing I noticed that they've never done before, started to do little, I don't want to say pithy, but that's the word I'll use, fun little commercials.
Yeah.
Very
They're trying to get a little
un-Yankee-like.
bit more personable, I guess.
Yeah.
And honestly, to me, that's something that you don't really notice until you have something to compare it to.
Right.
So whenever I'm in another city in the country, I'll try to see whatever sports games I can. So I remember last year I went down and saw an Orioles game and a Nationals game, and every other MLB park I've been to feels more fan-friendly. The team seems more accessible. It seems, we talked earlier about Darien feeling like a very loose team.
Yep.
Like the emotion that players have and the what they cast out to the fans and what they cast out to the media is hugely important in defining the brand. And I think that's something that the Yankees haven't quite done as well. And I've seen it in other sports too. Just this April, I went to a Pacers game in Indianapolis. I went to a Mavericks game in Dallas. And both of those just felt very fan-friendly. They felt like they wanted you to be there. They were giving stuff away. They were fun on the PA. After the Pacers game, the players all came down to the court. It was the last game of the season. They signed autographs. They gave people shoes. They shook people's hands. They took pictures with people. And, you know, it just felt like they were part of the community, whereas the Yankees seem like they're up here and the fans are somewhere here with everybody else.
But back
and
to
I
your-
just think that's something you can't really do if you want to be accessible.
Back to your point there's a certain interest in that because it makes the Yankees have that mystique. So to an extent, it's kind of a good thing that they do it, but at the other end of the spectrum, it's not a good thing that they do it. They're not going to be like the Rangers just a few miles down the road, for instance, who rip their sweaters, their jerseys right off the back on the last game of the season, sign them and give them to fans.
Right.
That's not happening in the Bronx. No way.
That being said, though, I think that there's something that has been sort of a sports-wide social shift in the past, I think 5-10 years, and that's the use of social media. And a lot of teams have gone from the kind of, I don't want to say elite social media, but the sort of subtracted social media where it's very impersonable and it's very much just scores and updates.
Yes.
And there's teams that do it incredibly well. I know the LA Kings are an example. The Columbus Blue Jackets do it very well. And it's kind of it's almost now become the norm across all sports, where the team's Twitter account or the team's Facebook page is one that, uses kind of up-to-date references and stuff and interacts with the fans all the time and is very much personable and seems a little bit more human. And I think that is something that's helped teams build their brand, and that's completely off the field. But their internet presence has helped teams build the brand. And I think that the Yankees could use that as a tool. I think a lot of teams have used that as a tool to sort of redefine themselves. I don't know how that could help the Yankees. I think that they may just want to play their cards in a way that would keep them as the huge brand that they are.
I don't want to see the Yankees or really any of the major league teams become minor league in that regard, but there is something to be learned from how much fun and how great the atmosphere is, even at a minor league sporting event, such as, the Sound Tigers or the Bluefish being an independent team. You don't necessarily want to become all about cliches and, promotional events, but there is something to be said, again, about that fan-friendly atmosphere. Now, conversely, I want to go to the game to see a game.
Right.
I take my son, and we all, my son's great, but you take my son to a game, he wants to walk around the park and see the bouncy castle.
It's the experience.
It is.
And I think that the Yankees are at one end of the spectrum, and you got minor league at the other end of the spectrum. And there's a lot of major league teams that have sort of found the balance because it's no longer just about the sports. It is very much a wholesome experience. It's about being in the ballpark. It's about what's outside the ballpark. It's about kind of having fun on game days, and there are a lot of teams that have managed to nail that down. And what's interesting, too, is I think when the Yankees were winning championships every year and they had stacked multi-million-dollar lineups, they could get away with being elite, and they could get away with the performance on the field being the main element of the game day experience. But now I think that their biggest stars have left, and they're no longer the, without the undoubted best team in baseball. I think they very much are on the field at a level of a lot of other teams that we would have earlier dismissed as sort of average teams.
Sure.
And I think that their brand, I don't know if they're going to, but I think that their brand might need to reflect that.
And that's exactly what we were talking about just a little while ago with Alyssa Nair, is getting out in the community and really helping to inspire young girls and help them build their confidence. I mean, you want sports to be a positive thing. For you and I overall, it has been a positive thing. I think, you're obviously much younger than I am, but you and I have both to a certain extent made sports, if not our lives, a huge part of our lives. And does it have its downfalls? Does it there are moments I get so furious at sports, I want to walk away from them. There have been times that the Yankees have infuriated me, and I've wanted to just cut the ties. The NFL, more lately than ever, has just, I'm done with the NFL. Goodell has screwed it up. And before we know it, we're going to be hearing about the status of extra points and the Patriots and the Deflategate thing. Looks like they're going to accept their punishment based on the reports that have come out. My point is there are a lot of downfalls to sports, but there's some reason that we keep coming back to it.
People are always going back to sports. I mean, even in a recession, it's sports and beer that are always doing well. And, you know, you say what you will, and I've had to defend sports before.
Me too.
I mean, my own brother, has come up to me and been like, I just don't get sports. They don't matter. And I'll be like, well, I mean, yeah, of course they don't, but that's why it's so great. There's so many things about sports that make them so integral in so many people's lives, and I just can't see that falling off the map.
No, I can't either, and believe me, I do know people who walked away after the strike with baseball in 94, and without a doubt, it infuriated me to levels that I can't even comprehend because, you know, ruining history, which I am so defensive of and protective of history. And then there are folks who just don't understand sports. You know, why is this player getting this much money and all this other stuff? And you got to know more. You can't just make the blanket statement. You know, it's okay for Tom Cruise to make $20 million for a movie, but Derek Jeter can't make $20 million as a ball player. You got to understand both sides. I think that's fair to say. One other thing I want to make sure I bring out, and I saw a Dave Rudin tweet about it, Giacomo Brancato working out with the great Troy Polamalu. That was an interesting thing to see, and I see Dave's got a quote from him. Giacomo Brancato, who played both baseball and basketball at Fairfield Ward, a terrific athlete, great kid, has been beating off some health problems over the last year or so, really going back to January, and just a remarkable story, great comeback story, and we all continue to support him. And Dave Rudin's got the quote in his tweet saying, Brancato to the FCAC community, everyone's support meant so much to me, and it helped me get through it. And he goes on and writes some more after that. But, you know, it's been a story to follow with Giacomo and continued success there. He said, when I don't feel well, I think about all the people who supported me. It boosted me up. Thanks to everyone. So pretty cool to see as he continues to battle non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and has really the whole community has rallied around him in Fairfield.
It absolutely has, and I think that is so important to players on the field and off the field is feeling the support from the community, and I think that there is no better an example of that working than right here.
Yeah, so pretty cool that he was training in a couple of hours with Troy Polamalu at Southport's Cancer Center for Survivorship. Got to take one more break as we come back and wrap this show up. Having a great conversation with Alex Hager. We continue on here on Nutmeg Sports at 2:55. We're back right after this.
Spring is finally in the air, and our favorite season is upon us. The Dock Shop is all geared up with a great selection of fishing tackle, custom fishing rods, and all the latest accessories to replenish your tackle box. The Dock Shop has also just brought out the newest spring fashion apparel from Montauk Tackle, Altered Latitudes, Kaylee Smith, and Margaritaville Apparel. Need some new foul weather gear for those chilly spring mornings? The Dock Shop is loaded up with Grundens and Stormer in a variety of styles and sizes. Ladies, we've got you covered as well, with spring apparel and the newest designs of coastal jewelry, bags, and accessories. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, Connecticut. Visit us at dockshop.com.
Located in the heart of picturesque downtown Ridgefield at 13 Governor Street, Colby's is the area's premier retailer for blinds, shades, shutters, and draperies, and is one of the select few Hunter Douglas Gallery dealers. A family-owned and operated company, Colby's experienced staff will work with you in choosing the best treatments for your home or office and offer free measuring and expert installation. Colby's also carries an extensive line of decorative fabrics including Schumacher, Durley, Tebow, and more. Or browse over 400 books in our wallpaper library from famous designers such as Stroheim, Schumacher, Ralph Lauren, Tebow, and York. Take advantage of our Fashion in Motion savings event with savings and rebates on Hunter Douglas shades with Power Rise technology. Colby's of Ridgefield. We are committed to your complete satisfaction. 203-438-8531.
It's lots of characters. specializing in children's birthday parties with your child's favorite characters. When you want to party hardy, when you need to celebrate, call us, we won't be late. We help create lasting memories for you and your child on their special day. Call us at 203-590-1791 or visit our website at lotsofcharacters.org for more information and to see our party packages. Lots of Characters, 203-590-1791 or online at lotsofcharacters.org.
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com.
Back with you on Nutmeg Sports. Would help if I turned my microphone on. 2:58. I just saw a note come across from the Darien Times, a little breaking news to Darien, that Jamie Stevenson, the first selectman, will run for re-election, planning to run for re-election this fall. It would be her fourth term on the Board of Selectmen and her third in the top seat. I'm sure we will hear much more about that tomorrow on Coffee Break, including you'll find it at DarienTimes.com. So I saw that just pop up and figured we'd give you... We break into news a little bit. We try to be full service here. That's what we do. Going to miss you tonight, by the way. You won't be with us for the game.
I know. Unfortunately, I will not be there to root on the New Canaan Rams. No, I'm kidding. I have other pursuits tonight, but I wish you guys the best of luck tonight.
How are you learning to adjust to broadcasting outside of Darien? And say if you were covering it, New Canaan Ward, for instance.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's a huge challenge for me. I think that having been broadcasting in Darien for years, I get to know a little bit about all the teams and about the sports culture. And having grown up there, I think that's especially easier. But it's been a lot of fun broadcasting in the community I've grown up. But I'm definitely ready and excited to branch out a little bit. And I think I've got a lot to learn for sure. But I think that to a certain extent, there's a lot of constants in broadcasting. You get yourself in the booth, you get a headset on, you're watching a certain sport or whatever. It's, there's definitely a lot of similarities, and I'm ready to learn how to do that in a different environment.
It's definitely true. Once you get into the booth, even if, for a guy like yourself, you walk in, even if you're blind, once you take those blinders off, there's still a game to analyze at the end of the day. So whether or not you and I are talking about New Canaan Ward or, Staples Greenwich, it's still a game. And you're still just analyzing and describing the action.
And it's the same game, too.
Right.
I've watched baseball games in different countries and different languages, and it's the same game. And that's something that draws – we were talking before about something that draws people back to sports again and again. It's something that draws people to the World Cup a lot, that, wherever you go, there's a lot of constants in sports and throughout your entire life. And I think that that's something I'm looking forward to not only in my broadcasting career, but just as a sports fan as well.
We want to thank Alyssa Nair of the U.S. women's soccer team for joining us throughout the show. She was on a little while ago. Great to talk with her. And again, she's got this thing going on that's pretty cool, and certainly want to support it. She believes in her community, which is a major event from the U.S. women's national team to give back to the young fans, especially the girls that support them on the field, by sending a simple yet powerful message. So go follow that. You can find out more about it at USA Soccer or ussoccer.com. ussoccer.com. So thanks to Alyssa Nair for coming on. Thanks to Josh Fisher for producing, directing. Eric Gendron got us started. John Kovac supported us as well, and a good show today. And I won't see you tomorrow either. But
I'll not see you tomorrow, but I will be back on Thursday.
See you Thursday. Of course, our last show of the week is tomorrow. We'll have, I believe, Mike Suppy's going to join us tomorrow. We'll see if we can get Bill Bloxham involved as well as we finish out the balance of the week. You will see us on. Alex will be along on Thursday in part for our event at Two Roads. We'll be up there starting, I believe we'll be on the air, and Josh confirmed for me. I think our first show is at 10 or 10, Josh is saying. At 10 on Thursday morning from Two Roads Brewing up in Stratford. So we'll be on for a couple of hours with a lot of the shows that you're familiar with. I'll be a small part of it that day. We won't do a Nutmeg Sports, but we will be along for part of that as well. I've got to bounce out of there and go do some other stuff. And then we're back with baseball. And again, the reminder that we've changed our game. We flexed into Darien and Norwalk on Friday. And look, it has nothing to do with you being a Darien guy. I think it's a great game.
I think it will be a great game. We're really looking forward to it, and I will be really excited to join you guys again on Friday.
Sounds good. So that'll do it for Nutmeg Sports. Thanks for checking us out on a Tuesday. For Alex Hager and everybody here at HANradio.com, I'm Rob Adams, back with you tonight from Dunningfield, right down the road here in New Canaan. For now, have a good afternoon. We'll talk to you later. So long.
Yabba dabba dabba, yabba dabba dabba, yabba dabba 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 doo. Yabba dabba 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 doo.
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.
Want to get in touch with HAN Radio? You can find us on Twitter at Hersam Radio, on Facebook at Hersam Acorn Radio, or email us at radio@hersamacorn.com.
Micro Live is now next. 5, 5.